So I streamed DDLC Plus a little while ago to rather astonishing results, and I just wanted to say, genuinely, thank you to those who enjoyed and supported my video and streams. I really appreciate that. But now that my journey with this game is complete, it's time to ruthlessly shit on it. I'll be honest, I still hate DDLC Plus, and here's why. This game hasn't changed a thing from the original. I'm being serious, not even the player models have been updated to the new artwork, which I truly don't understand why that is and what the point of the artwork rework was, if not to make more wallpapers that I will never use. Okay, maybe I'll use that one. The original story has nothing new, there aren't any new endings to my knowledge, even the side stories have the exact same artwork. Seriously, what the fuck was the point of this then? The side stories don't change the main story, which I wasn't expecting them to, but what's the point of having them if as a casual fan you only want to see horror? I mean, maybe there's a few new sound effects that play throughout the story, but I really can't tell you of anything new that this game has to offer story-wise though. The only source of plot advancement comes in the form of the files and mail tabs that address the secondary installment that we can all agree is probably gonna happen. Other than that, the story does not change at all to my knowledge. Maybe a future update will add stuff, maybe not, but as of the recording of this video, that hasn't happened. So there is a lot of stuff in this game that stokes the inevitable secondary installment that we still don't know much about, Flame. For starters, oh, hold on, can somebody put the spoilers logo in? Thanks. The game is actually a virtual machine that is being used to collect data by a company called Metaverse Enterprise Solutions. The lore is basically the plan on what the data being collected on the 4 characters is and what the plan for using this data is. I actually like the lore a lot and can't wait to see where Team Salvato and probably Serenity Forge is going to do with this next installment, whether it be a sequel, or a prequel, or a pre-sequel, or whatever. But here's my problem. If you're a casual fan who only wants to know what's next for this series, this is all you're gonna get. There is nothing else to my knowledge that adds information to the next installment, which isn't bad, but it leads me to question the same thing I questioned in the last video. Why should I buy this then? There's an inherent struggle going on with this game that I think most fans, whether casual or hardcore, missed, and it all revolves around one question. Why does DDLC Plus exist? There is obviously no official answer to this besides maybe opening the game up to more audiences, but in that lies my personal theory about this game. We'll get to that later. Back to addressing the lore, I just don't see a point as a casual fan for purchasing this game just for the lore if you could just go on YouTube and find it there yourself from one of many MatPat wannabes, including myself. The music was actually pretty good. Next. The Unlockables were kind of funny, if I'm being completely honest. The only issue I have with the Unlockables is that supposedly there are over 100 unlockable images, but the majority of them are just from the original game or are screenshots of poems that were in the original. It felt kind of cheap to say that, knowing that there's really maybe like 20 or 30 new artworks that probably aren't new, but I'm not gonna dig into that. Now is where I address the dreaded YouTube comments. Video games have always had their casual and hardcore fans. It's been part of the culture since the days of Atari 2600. But gatekeeping is a fairly new topic of interest among games, and man, I pissed off some of those gatekeepers. Here's an example of someone who is, whether intentionally or not, gatekeeping casual fans from asking justified questions. This guy's entire argument is that I was whining like a 2-year-old and I should shut up about a sequel. Oh, and my edgy joke didn't get to him. Now, as an individual, I couldn't care less what this guy thinks. Either way, he gave me one more view, which gives me more exposure, whether or not he wanted that. But this comment in particular irks me as a casual fan of DDLC because it tries to put a negative connotation around questioning Team Salvato's moves when it comes to the game. And I confronted this person about it, to which he folded like a goddamn omelet and fumbled his response in a way that made me question if I was even talking to the right person. I really do understand defending the game that you love, but when you have a whole paragraph dedicated to me not saying that Suki died in the original game, you're just looking for a problem. And that's not a criticism, that's just plain stupid. No matter how right you are, it just makes you look like a weirdo. but gatekeeping is far worse. I could only imagine a casual fan looking at the no man's land that was my DDLC Plus video comment section and feeling intimidated by the amount of shit that got poured on that video. And it's sad because many of those comments were a valid discussion, but when you get something like this, it makes you question what the hell happened. Gatekeeping is a terrible thing that haunts all franchises. Even Persona has their infamous Persona 3 to SMT gatekeepers who hate 4 and 5 fans because of stupid shit like the colors were too bright or whatever. And DDLC isn't exempt from these people, but I stand by what I said in my first video. Team Salvato had everything they said they didn't have when Dan took a break, and instead of making the long-anticipated second installment, they made Plus, which is unnecessary no matter how good or bad it was. And that was my main argument in my first video for those who didn't catch that. If you're a casual fan and you want to experience DDLC in a more established manner with some new content, be my guest. But if you're on the rocks about buying it, I wouldn't recommend it. You could easily go on YouTube and find the same amount of content you would find if you bought the game. I would even go as far as to say that if you're a hardcore fan on the rocks about this game, I wouldn't recommend it, but that's just my personal opinion. Do what you want with the information given to you, but I must ask, if there isn't any real reason for DDLC Plus to have come out, in my opinion, then why did it come out? This is where my inner Matt Pack comes out and my super cool theory blows everyone's minds. Actually, my theory is as simple as it gets. DDLC Plus exists as a relevancy game. Here's what I mean. In 2020, I made a video addressing whatever happened to the DDLC second installment. And in that video, I made it clear that casual fans were clearly forgetting that DDLC existed. So isn't it interesting that DDLC Plus even exists? Think about it. The only reason why a casual fan would even want to know this game exists is because of the lore that adds depth to the potential secondary installment. On top of that, if Team Salvato were to have made a second installment without DDLC Plus coming out first, if we put what I said back in 2020 into context, fewer people would theoretically play this game. So it makes sense for Team Salvato and Serenity Forge to release DDLC Plus, as it basically acts as a refresher to casual fans like my friend Chris, who completely forgot Doki Doki Literature Club was a thing. It's just a theory. A game theory! Nope. Stop it, Brendan. I could very well be wrong, but it makes sense from a business standpoint. That would also explain the ports to console and the new artwork and side stories that keep hardcore fans satisfied. DDLC Plus wasn't bad, and I admit I was wrong in assuming that it's an underwhelming DLC. I wouldn't even call it a DLC, it's a completely different game. But I do still stand by my main argument. This shit just wasn't necessary for casual fans. And gatekeeping is also bad, but that's for another video. Thank you all for 1,000 subs. I promise I will be making a very special video to celebrate that. Now we move on to 1 million subs. Make sure to like and comment, and also subscribe for more content that's gatekeeping free. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and bye-bye.